What's up, everybody? Coach Dacia here, bringing you this week's hot topic. I don't know that this is necessarily a hot topic, but I thought I would just give you a video of this because I mentioned it in a recent office hours that I do with my osteo clients. And somebody was like, oh, I would love to see that. I'd love to see a video of that. So I thought I would just do the video, and why not make it a hot topic? And that is my personal morning stretch routine. I think we all have that, weird, achy, tight feeling when we wake up in the morning. Even if you've got a great mattress and a great pillow, your body is in some unnatural positions for hours at a time. So it makes sense to kind of get it stretched out, kind of warmed up before you start moving throughout your day. So as we were talking about that recently, I mentioned that I have my own stretch routine and a couple of people wanted to see that. So here is a video of what I do. I am obviously not in my bedroom or on a bed, but I'm going to show you from the floor some of the moves that I do before I get started with my day. So let's get started. So the very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is a nice forward fold. This helps me to stretch out my hamstrings, my low back, and even into my upper back. Basically everything on the back side of your body, what we call the posterior chain. Depending on what position you sleep in, these muscles are probably pretty tight from hours of laying in that position. So this is always a good one to start with. So very simple, from your bed. You don't even have to leave your bed to do this. Just sit up, take both of your legs out, try to keep your legs as straight as possible. If there's a slight bend in your knees, that's okay. But I don't want you to do this where your knees are all the way bent because you're trying to reach for your toes. Remember, we're not trying to touch our toes here. We're simply aiming that direction, okay? So from here, I like to just simply hinge from my waist, slide my hands down, and once again, your hands are going to go as far as possible here, okay? I can reach my toes, but I'm a short person, so it's pretty easy for me. And I'm just going to hold. With all of the stretches I do in the morning, I count to 30 or count back from 30, whichever one feels good to you. But 30 seconds is a great amount of time to hold a stretch. It allows the stretch reflex to actually kick in and for you to be able to elongate those muscles and feel the release. So a simple hamstring low back stretch, or what we call a forward fold, to start with. So that is my very first move. Once again, I hold that for 30 seconds. Now, my next move is one that's always controversial when it comes to osteo. So I encourage you, if twisting or a spinal twist is not for you, then you're not going to do this move in the mornings. But for those of you who really do feel that tension in your low back and you are able to twist, making sure that you get a spinal twist in is imperative. You got to get that in. All right. So what I'm going to do next is, well, the next thing I do in the morning is I always prop up one leg. In this case, it's going to be my right leg, the one that's closest to you. And whatever knee is up, I'm going to simply turn towards that knee. I can take the opposite arm, prop it on the outside of that knee, and just turn as far as I can. Now, this is a good one where I like to take some deep breaths. And then after like maybe the third deep breath I take, I'm going to inhale, and then on my exhale, I see if I can go just a little bit further. Really helps to release the back. Once again, 30 seconds here. I'm going to slowly come back to center, release that leg, prop the other knee up, and go the other direction. 30 seconds each way. Now, next up is, I know for me that the first thing that happens when I step out of bed is my ankles or my feet might feel kind of weird. So what I like to do, because I know it's important to drink some water first thing in the morning, this is when I get my water in and I get some ankle circles in. So I can't really show you this from the ground, but imagine that you are on your bed and you have taken your legs over to the side of the bed. So hopefully your feet and ankles are dangling off the side of your bed. From here, while you're sipping on water, or while I sip on water, I like to do ankle circles. So my legs, once again, my ankles are hanging down, and all I'm doing is rotating them nice and slow, clockwise for a few seconds, and then counterclockwise. I do that as I'm sipping my water. I try to get my entire water bottle done in the morning. It's about 2 cups, a little over 2 cups of water. And I have a little daily devotional, not even devotional, it's like a positive affirmation calendar that I keep on my side. So I'll flip that over. I'll read the affirmation for the day. I'm sipping on my water and I'm doing those ankle circles. All right. So that's the next part before I step out of bed. Okay. Now, once I step out of bed, it's time to get my quads and my calves, because for me, I always feel like my calves are probably the tightest thing for me when I wake up in the morning. But I get my quads first, okay? Because I know my quads really help me release my hips as well. So this is one where if you need help with balance, you can always put your hand on a wall, a chair, something like that to help you. But what I like to do is take my right hand, I grab my right ankle, I keep my knees together, and I stand up as tall as possible. From here, all I'm doing is trying to get my heel close to my butt. It doesn't have to touch your butt, but you don't want to be way out here. You want to get as close as you can, okay? Obviously, you go where your range of motion takes you, but this is the same thing. 30 seconds on this leg, then of course, do 30 seconds on the other leg. Last but not least, as I said, I like to get my calf muscles, because once they get nice and loose, I start walking around and I feel great. So I have a wall in my room that I use. I don't have a wall here to really show you without switching around the camera. So I'm going to use my little pony wall right here because I'm in my loft. What you can do is from your wall, put your hands on your wall and then step your feet back as far as you can. The key to a calf stretch is making sure that, I'm going to move my mat out of the way so you can see my feet, making sure that your feet, your heels stay on the ground, okay? You don't want them to come up off the ground because you're going to miss the calf stretch. So if my hands are on the wall and I step my feet back, I'm going to step back and glue my feet to the ground. Once my feet are on the ground, I can step back even further if I want to make sure that I feel that in the top of my calf. So from this position, with the knees straight and the heels on the ground, you're going to feel the stretch in the top part of your calf. Once again, I'll hold that for 30 seconds. After that 30 seconds, this is the most important one. My knees were straight. Now I'm going to slightly bend my knees. This one feels amazing because now it shifts the stretch down into the lower part of your calf, so down here, and into your Achilles tendon. These are muscles that are notorious for getting tight during the night while we are sleeping. So you want to take the time to really stretch those muscles out. So once again, remember, the first stretch you do is with the knees straight, heels are on the ground, and then you bend the knees. Look at my heels. They did not come off the ground. They stay glued to the ground. This is the cue that I usually give my people, especially in classes, is to keep your feet glued to the ground and this manipulate your knees, right? Knees straight and then knees bent. From there, I'm usually pretty good. Now, if you're somebody who also deals with plantar fasciitis, that is a condition where the fascia in the feet and the toes tightens overnight. You might also need to add a little extra step, and that is the golf ball stretch. Now, it's not really a stretch. It's just taking a golf ball and rolling it around the bottom of your foot for maybe about a minute per foot, and then go on about your day. That depends on how your feet feel, right? I know some days I need to do that because my feet feel really tight, especially if I walked a lot the day before. But if you don't necessarily have that condition, you don't have to worry about that. But that's just a bonus move that you can do outside of these stretches. So I hope that was helpful for you. Obviously, there's so many other stretches you can do, but I highly encourage you to give your body some love first thing in the morning. It is going to make your first few movements and basically the first part of your morning that much better when your body feels nice and loose and ready for the day. And that's it for this week's Hot Topic. I'll see you next time.